About 3 years ago, when we went into the community to meet these ladies, most of them who are widows, it was a dire situation because you could hear the coughs around the quarries, the mines, because of the dust, you know. You could hear them without even seeing them.
Lakini hiyo kazi ya kware nilianza 2014 mpaka sasa nilikuwa nafanya last year. Hapo nikaanza kuponjeka. Kupimwa nikaambiwa hiyo ya mchanga, nikaambiwa niko na asma. Nikaendelea na kutibiwa. Last year sijui ilikuwa mwezi wa 7. Nikaenda hospitali, nikapimwa kifua. Nikaambiwa kimeingia baridi. Kile kiko ninaendelea na kuchukua madawa nikitumia. Lakini nashukuru Mungu kwa vile mmenitendea. Ile kazi nilikuwa nafanya ya kware ilikuwa inaniumiza sababu ya vumbi. Kwanza inaingia kwa macho, inaingia kwa mapua, na ndiposa nikakuwa mgonjwa. Hiyo kazi ilikuwa ngumu, kuchoka hata kiasi cha kwamba hata chakula huwezi kula, unakimbizana na kazi iingize pesa mpaka unajikuta hujakula chakula.
Lakini wakati tumekuja hapa kwa Fish Flies, tuko kwa safe environment kwa sababu tuko na kifuli, tunajua na upepo. Sasa niko sawa.
When IOSH as a partner came on board and did the risk assessment, there was no intervention we could do to ensure that these women work in a safe environment. The only recommendation was that we must remove them. And as CBWA, the first thing we did as we sat and round table discussions was to look at what are the skill sets these women have.
And importantly, that structure is recognized across the world. A risk assessment is recognized across the world. So that risk assessment, that format, actually opened the doors within the financial institutions who wanted to come and invest in these kinds of areas, because it was familiar to them. They knew what a risk was, the hazard, the likelihood, and that articulation, and they were able to engage with it from that position onwards.
Tukaletewa mradi wa kutengeneza ndoano ambazo ni za kushika samaki. Wakati tulianzisha tuliona ni ngumu. Wakati tuliendelea mwalimu akitufundisha tukashika na tukajua.
Hii project kwanza ilikuwa gumu sana. Juu hata walikuwa wengi sana, wakajichuja wakasema hatuwezi hii ni kitu gumu sana hatujaiona. Lakini jaribu kwa encourage, hii ni kitu rahisi mkiweka might. Mtoe akili kwa Kwale, juu akili zao zote zilikuwa Kwale.
Fish Flies tunatengeneza, lakini kwa sababu ya mapato ya kila siku ya familia itabidi nimeenda Kwale kwa sababu pesa ya huko haitoshi.
It was hard to convince them not to go back to the quarries as they wait for the next order. That was a challenge. And honestly speaking, you can't tell a woman don't go back if we've not given her an alternative source of income. And that is where our work as Commonwealth Business Women Africa came from. We had to find alternative sources of income.
This is why monitoring and evaluation of projects is actually very, very important to ensure that measures implemented are actually fit. As human beings and also people who work, there are people who are biased towards a certain industry and might be hard to adopt to a different one.
A group of donors supplied a sewing machine to the Maasai women. Our members trained them to use it safely, but they're using that sewing machine because they value it so much.
Kwa sasa inasaidia Commonwealth Business Women Africa kufundisha wamama kushona. Okay, vile unajua mama amejua kushona, vile unafanya kitu ya kwanza, unajua pendling yake, mashine inaenda straight, hairudishi nyuma, inaenda mbele kila wakati. Alafu ukiona anajua kushona, unaweka shindano kwa machine, unakata karatasi, unaweka lines. Ukiona anajua kushona straight, then unajua ako tayari kushona ama kuendelea.
I think one of the reasons we picked both Ghana and, in this case, Kenya with the quarry workers is the incredible positive committee governments in both countries. In Kenya specifically, Dr. Nyandusi and his team in the Department of Occupational Safety and Health Services are absolute passionate advocates for fixing these kind of challenges. And we've had tremendous support all the way through from the ministry in terms of moving legislation forward, the Occupational Safety and Health national plans, and focusing on where harm is occurring in the country, largely the informal sector, transport and so forth.
Our legislations, to a large extent, are very directed towards the formal sector. We have just completed the drafting of the National Occupational Safety and Health Policy. And the proposed safety and health policy actually gives a lot of recognition to the output and the importance of the informal sector in contribution to the economy.
We've made major progress to the point where we've been able to launch what we are calling an economic empowerment center. It's a major shift from what we saw 3 years ago, where you could hear the women cough as they breathed in the dusts from the mines.
The Maasai women have a very defined role traditionally within Maasai culture, and that is very much about supporting the home, fitting in where they traditionally have done so. They don't own land, they don't make their own decisions. We've spent a lot of time speaking and sitting with the elders of the community who have completely understood the need to change Maasai culture. One of the great successes of that is now where the Maasai elders have gifted the land to the women.
Pata siku ile tu umekuja pale kwa shamba yangu na hiyo watu wangu, umekuja kuuliza utaweza kusaidia sisi aje. Nimwambia utaweza kupatia mali weke nyumba, huwezi kulipisha wewe, niendelee tu na hivyo kwa ajili ardhi ni ngumu kupiana. Kitu mbili hawezi kupiana na Masai. Maana kijana kama huyu na ardhi. Kwa ajili mimi hawezi tu iende chini kwa sababu umesaidia hiyo. Wale watu kana nguvu. Ni roho tu umeuma mimi kwa ile kina mama.
In terms of health, there is a huge difference when you see the women today from the women we met 2-3 years ago. There is joy, they are at peace, they are laughing, they are dancing, they are jumping. For the first time in a long time, I didn't hear the ladies coughing.
I think this is very evident in the faces of these women. When you meet them, they seem happier, there are smiles on their face, they are laughing. But also from the occupational safety and health lens bit of it, the workplace is now safer compared to where they used to work in the quarries.
And what we've seen as a result of being healthy and being at peace, first of all, they have so much hope now. They dream of a better future.
Ashe Baba, Ashe Baba, Ashe Baba, Ashe Baba, Oh, Kidejo, Ashe Baba, Kidejo, Ashe Gai. Ashe Baba, Ashe Gai. Ashe Baba, Ashe Gai. Ashe Baba, Ashe Gai. Ashe Baba, Ashe Gai.